Welcome to Founders in Flow, the podcast where two seasoned entrepreneurs, Neil and Ijlal, dive into real conversations about what it takes to build, grow, and scale an online business. Let's get into the flow.
Everyone, welcome back to another episode of Founders in Flow. I'm your host, Neil Napier, and today I'm joined by a good friend and an absolute powerhouse in the digital entrepreneurship space, Ijlal Ahmed. You might remember him from our last chat where we tackled the evolution of SEO into the realm of AIO. Ijlal, welcome back to the show.
Hey Neil, it's great to be back. I always look forward to our conversations. There's so much happening in the digital space, and it's exciting to dive into it with someone who's equally passionate about these shifts.
Absolutely. I thought today we could delve deeper into a topic that's on a lot of our listeners' minds, the $100 rule. Specifically, how can someone start an online business with just $100 in their pocket?
That's a question that gets at the heart of entrepreneurship, doesn't it? I found that with the right approach, you don't need much capital to get the ball rolling, especially not in the digital realm.
Right, but before we jump into that, I want to circle back a bit to our last discussion. We talked briefly about how traditional SEO has sort of evolved into AEO, answer engine optimization, fueled a lot by AI. How do you see this shift impacting solopreneurs right now?
You know, Neil, the shift is monumental, especially for solopreneurs. In the past, cracking the SEO code required a lot of technical know-how or a decent chunk of your budget outsourced to a specialist. But with AEO, the focus is now on providing real, substantial answers to queries. That's where AI becomes a huge ally. You can integrate tools, many of which are affordable, to analyze data, predict trends, and even create optimized content that meets what search engines deem valuable today.
Exactly. And considering that context, let's say someone is starting fresh with just their $100 budget. Ijlal, with your extensive experience, what's the first step you would recommend for budding entrepreneurs?
The very first step is all about clarity. You need to identify a niche that not only aligns with your passion, but is also viable. Start with market research, which can mostly be done for free. Use platforms like Reddit, Quora, or specific Facebook groups. Engage with potential audiences and understand their pain points. You're not selling yet, you're gathering intelligence.
So a bit of detective work essentially. Once you have that intel, how does one go about translating that knowledge into something tangible with limited funds?
Right? After this detective work, it's time to get practical. With your niche defined, the next step is crafting an offer. This could be a product or a service. For someone with limited funds, consider starting with something that capitalizes on your skills or knowledge. For instance, an ebook, a short course, or consulting services. The idea is to leverage what you already possess intellectually.
I love that approach, especially because it helps you build authority in your niche. Do you remember any personal anecdotes where you applied this strategy? Quick break from today's episode, but this is really exciting. If you've been enjoying this podcast so far, here's a little secret. We didn't write or speak a single word of it ourselves. Every episode of Founders in Flow is created using a tool we're building called PodGorilla. And it's about to change the way podcasts are made. PodGorilla lets you generate an entire podcast episode, from the topic to the script to the voiceover, using nothing but AI. You can pull inspiration from YouTube videos, PDFs, or even just drop in your own ideas. Then it gives you a complete, ready-to-publish audio episode. All you need to do is hit generate and let the tool do the work. And right now we're opening up early access. If you want to be one of the first people to try PodGorilla before anyone else and see how we're using it behind the scenes, just head over to podgorilla.co and join the waitlist. That's podgorilla.co. The future of podcasting is just one click away. Now back to the episode.
Oh, certainly. When I first started with Content Gorilla, the budget was tight because we were bootstrapping. Instead of immediately investing in ads or expensive tech, I ran a small pre-launch campaign on social media. It was all about showing how the tool could solve real problems. I hosted a couple of webinars, leveraged a few affiliates, and within a month, the interest had grown significantly enough to justify further investment.
That's a perfect segue into leveraging community, which I think is hugely underrated. How critical do you find community building when you're starting on a shoestring budget?
Oh, it's crucial. Community isn't just about having a group of followers, it's about nurturing trust and engagement. When you have people who believe in your product, they become your biggest marketers. Initially, you can start by just engaging on platforms, offering value, and being genuinely helpful. Over time, these efforts compound and you have a solid support base.
Exactly. And the good thing about community building is that it can often be done for free. Just invest your time and effort. One thing that can come up though, Ijlal, is the challenge of scalability. How do you manage scaling your efforts when you're starting with $100?
Scalability is indeed a tricky area when you're budget constrained, but here's where automation becomes your best friend. Tools like scheduling apps for social media or email marketing platforms with built-in automation features can save you a ton of time. They're usually quite affordable. It's about finding balance. Automate where possible, but don't lose that personal touch that builds loyalty and engagement.
It's about being smart, huh? Automating wisely and maintaining personal engagement. So once you start seeing some cash flow, what's the best way to reinvest those first few dollars?
Great question. Reinvestment should be strategic. When you see cash coming in, it's tempting to funnel it all back into big marketing spends. But start with enhancing your product or service. Make sure your offering is top notch because your reputation depends on it. Then gradually increase your marketing spend. But do test different channels before you go all in. Find what gives you the highest ROI.
Testing is such a key point and often overlooked. It also brings up the point of patience. In your experience, how important is patience in this process?
Patience is one of the most underrated skills in entrepreneurship. Many people expect results overnight, but building something sustainable requires time. There's no shortcut to creating actual value. It's about being in it for the long haul and continuing to iterate and improve your offerings.
I couldn't agree more. Well, Ijlal, we've covered a lot of ground today, from stepping into entrepreneurship with minimal resources to leveraging AI and community to scale effectively. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are on the verge of starting their own ventures?
Sure. I'd say trust the process, but more importantly, trust yourself. Starting with a small budget might feel daunting, but remember that every big enterprise started somewhere small. Use tech wisely, lean on communities for support, and never stop learning. The journey is just as exciting as the destination.
Great advice, Ijlal. It's been an enlightening chat, as always. Thank you for joining me today and sharing your insights. And to our listeners, I hope you found today's episode as motivating and informative as I did. Until next time, keep pushing those boundaries. Take care, everybody.